Daf Yomi, Tractate Menachot, page 47a, top of the page. Starting at the very top of the page, the first two words, Tanu Rabbanan. Tanu Rabbanon. Tanu Rabbanon, Kivsei Atzerasin Mikachin Azalechem Elabashkito. The Gemara cites further discussion of the two sheep and the two loaves of Shavuot. The sages taught in a Braita, the two sheep of Shavuot consecrate the two loaves that accompany them only by means of their slaughter. Ketzad, how so? Shachatan lishman v'zorak daman lishman kadesh alechem. Shachatan shel lishman v'zorak daman shel lishman loy kadesh alechem. Shachatan lishman v'zorak daman shel lishman alechem kadosh eno kadosh. Divrei Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon Omer La'olam. How so? If one slaughters a sheep for their own sake as the peace offerings that are supposed to be sacrificed on Shavuot, and then the priest sprinkled their blood on the altar for their own sake, then the loaves are consecrated. But if one slaughtered them not for their own sake, and the priest sprinkled their blood not for their own sake, the loaves are not consecrated. If one slaughtered them for their own sake, and he sprinkled their blood not for their own sake, the loaves are partially consecrated, but they are not fully consecrated. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, says the loaves are never consecrated at all until one slaughters the offerings for their own sake and sprinkles their blood for their own sake. My time is Rebbe. The Gemara asks, what is the reason of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who holds that the slaughtering of the sheep partially consecrates the loaves even without the sprinkling of the blood? Tichsiv Yesa'ay li'aseh zevach shloim l'Hashem al salamatzos lememra l'shchita mikadjo. The Gemara answers, it is based on the fact that it is written concerning the ram brought by the Nazarite when he completes his Nazariteship, and he shall offer the ram for a sacrifice, zevach, of peace offerings to the Lord, with the basket of unleavened bread, number 617. Since the verse uses the word zevach, which also means slaughter, and the verse then makes reference to the loaves, that is to say, that it is specifically the slaughter that constitutes the loaves that accompany the offering. Similarly, the slaughter of the sheep brought as peace offerings on Shavuot consecrates the accompanying two loaves, as the halacha of the loaves of Shavuot is derived from that of the loaves of the Nazarite. V'Rabbi Lazar ben Rabbi Shimon ya'aseh ad ya'aseh kol asiyoisa. The Gemara asks, and what is the reasoning of Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, who holds that the slaughtering and sprinkling of the blood together consecrate the loaves? The Gemara answers, he derives it from the term he shall offer, which he understands to mean that the loaves are not consecrated until the priest performs all of the actions included in the sacrificial rites of that offering, including the sprinkling of the blood. But Rabbi Nami Hokasiv Ya'aseh, Ikasiv Zevach Ya'aseh, Kedeko Amrit Hashter Siv Ya'aseh Zevach, Bame Ya'aseh Bezvicho. The Gemara asks, and according to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi also, isn't it written, he shall offer, which indicates that the loaves are consecrated only once the blood has been sprinkled on the altar? The Gemara answers, if it were written as sacrifice, zevach, he shall offer, it would be as you are saying, that he should slaughter it and then perform a further action, meaning sprinkling the blood in order to consecrate the loaves. Now that it is written, he shall offer the ram for a sacrifice, zevach, it should be understood as, by what means should he offer the ram in order to consecrate the loaves? By means of slaughtering. Zvicha. Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon, Hokasiv Zevach, Ahu Miboile, Lechid Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan Kol Moirim, שצוריך שיהיה לחם לשעת שחיתו, The Gemara asks, and according to Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, isn't it written as a sacrifice? Zevach, indicating that slaughtering alone consecrates the loaves. The Gemara answers, he requires that expression for that which Rabbi Yochanan says, as Rabbi Yochanan says that everyone, including Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, concedes that the loaves must be in existence at the time of the slaughter. My kadosh v'eno kadosh, Amar Abaya Amar kadosh v'eno gamur, Rav Amar kadosh v'eno nitar. The Gemara asks, what is meant by Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's statement in the Braita that if one slaughtered the sheep on their own for their own sake and sprinkled their blood not for their own sake, then the loaves are partially consecrated, but they are not fully consecrated. Abaye says the loaves are consecrated by means of the slaughtering, but their consecration is not complete. Rava says the loaves are fully consecrated by means of the slaughtering, but they are not thereby permitted to be eaten. My binayu ikbinayu limitpas pidyoinoi lebaye lo tafis pidyono lerava tafis pidyono. The Gemara asks, what is the practical difference between them? Whether the loaves are consecrated but it's not completely consecrated, or it's consecrated but you can't be eaten. It can't be eaten. What's the difference? I guess they both can't be eaten, right? Either way, they can't be eaten. But the Gemara says there is a difference. Everyone concedes that the loaves may not be eaten as a result of the slaughtering. So what's the difference? What's the reason? The Gemara answers that the practical difference between them is the ability to transfer sanctity to their redemption money. According to Baye, who holds that the loaves are not completely consecrated, they do not transfer sanctity to their redemption money if one tries to redeem them for money. According to Rabbah, who holds that the loaves are completely consecrated, they do transfer the sanctity to their redemption money. The Gemara asks, granted, according to Rabbah, who holds that according to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, the loaves are completely sanctified. That is the difference between the opinions of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon. But according to Abaye, what difference is there between the opinions of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon? There is a difference. The Gemara answers, the practical difference is between them is with regard to whether the loaves are rendered unfit by means of leaving the temple courtyard after the slaughtering of the offering. According to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, the loaves are rendered unfit if they leave the courtyard. According to Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, who holds that the loaves are not consecrated, they are not rendered unfit if they leave the courtyard. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Rabbi Chia bar Abba kivsei aseres shishochet hanishmon v'zorak daman shlo nishmon oisoi alechem ma'u b'chilo. The Gemara continues the discussion of the dispute between Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, concerning the consecration of the two loaves by means of the slaughter and sprinkling of the blood of the sheep of Shavuot. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yitzchak raised a dilemma before Rabbi Chia bar Abba in the case of a communal peace offering of two sheep that accompany the two loaves on Shavuot, that one slaughtered for their sake, but the priest sprinkled their blood not for their sake. Concerning those accompanying loaves, what is the halacha regarding eating them? Aliba deman. Rabbi Shimon. Amar Zika he Nimgacha. Rabbi bin Abayin bin Rabbi Kodesh Notarhu. The Gemara asks, in accordance with whose opinion was this dilemma raised? If it was raised in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon, doesn't he say that it is a sprinkling of the blood that consecrates the loaves? Consequently, if the blood was not properly sprinkled, it is clear that the loaves are unfit and may not be eaten. And if it was raised in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, both according to the opinion of Abaye and according to that of Rabbah, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi holds that the loaves are consecrated but are not permitted to be eaten. שתי הלחם שיצאו בין שחיטה לזריקה וזרק בדמן של כבשים חוץ לזמנון רבי אליעזר אומר אין בלחם משום ביגול. רבי עקיבא אומר יש בלחם משום ביגול. The Gemara responds, rather, one must say that the question was asked in accordance to the opinion of this following Tana. As the father of Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba teaches in the Braita. So I guess it was Abba, right? Why does it say Abba? Abba, Avu, der Yirmiyah bar Abba. Okay, why did they say the father? Why did they say Abba? Okay. In a case where the two loaves left the temple courtyard between the slaughtering of the offering and the sprinkling of his blood. Or could say Abba, the father of Shmuel. Anyway. Slaughtering the offering and sprinkling of his blood. And then the priest sprinkled the blood of the sheep with the intent that their meat would be eaten beyond their designated time. The sheep are rendered pigul. With regard to the loaves, Rabbi Eliezer says they do not become prohibited due to the prohibition of pigul. Rabbi Akiva says the loaves do become prohibited due to the prohibition of pigul. Amar Sheish is Hani Tanai Keravi Sirlu Jamar Shchitu Kadshu. Rav Sheish had said these Tanaim, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva both hold in accordance to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who said the slaughtering consecrates the loaves by itself. Consequently, if the loaves are taken out of the temple courtyard after the sheep are slaughtered, the loaves become disqualified. Mihu Rabbi Eliezer Tamei Diamar Ein Zrika Moelis Lioitze Rabbi Akiva Tamei Diamar Zrika Moelis Lioitze. But they disagree as to the following. Rabbi Eliezer conforms to his line of reasoning, as Rabbi Eliezer says that sprinkling the blood is not effective with regard to offerings that left the temple courtyard, since the loaves left the courtyard before the sprinkling of the blood. The intent of the priest, while sprinkling the blood, that the offering be eaten outside of its designated time, does not render the loaves pigul. And Rabbi Akiva conforms to his line of reasoning, as Rabbi Akiva says that sprinkling the blood is effective with regard to offerings that left the temple courtyard. Therefore, the intent of the priest, while sprinkling the blood, that is, that the offering be eaten outside of its designated time, renders the loaves pigul, even if they left the courtyard. Okay, we'll stop here and continue with 47b.